Hello everyone and welcome to tutorial number 38 in a series of video tutorials for Java programming. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial I upload on my channel. In the last tutorial I discussed about the thread methods and about the two ways in which we can create the thread, that is by extending the thread class and by implementing the runnable interface. All right, so in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to talk about how we can create multiple threads in Java. Then after that, we are going to see what happens, when we, start thread more than once. Okay. And after that, we'll be looking into these other methods like sleep, interrupt, is interrupted, join. Then after that, we'll be looking into these terms. Okay. So let's get started right away. So first of all, I'm going to create multiple threads in Java. All right. So this thread, this particular thread, it is going to find out whether a number is even or odd. But right now, what it is doing is it is accepting a number from the user. Okay, so I don't want to accept the number from the user because right now I'm going to, talk about the concept of creating multiple threads. So I'm going to remove this particular concept and I am going to enter the number myself. So let us say, I'm entering a number 8. Okay, so I have entered a number 8. Okay, and that is the modification I'm going to do in this particular class. Then after that I'm going to create another class. Okay, in this particular file itself, if you remember in one of my previous tutorials itself, I told you that you can create more than one class in the same file, but it must not be marked as public. Okay, so I am going to create another class here, and this particular class, it is going to contain it is going to calculate factorial of a number. Okay, so implements runnable. Then after that, I'm going to implement this particular method public void run. Okay, now you need to remember that this should not be marked as public, because if this is marked as public, then it is not going to work actually. Okay, so it must either be declared abstract. Okay, first of all, let me declare that public void run. Okay, but even after that, it is going to give an error. It is going to say should be declared in a file named factorial.java. So you should always remember that you can create more than one class in the same file, but this should not be named as public, because the name of the file is tutorial.java. Okay, so the public class can only be tutorial. All right, so now what I'm going to do inside this particular method, okay, I'm going to calculate a factorial of a particular number. Okay, let us say I'm calculating. Now for simplicity purposes, I'm not inputting the number from the user, because otherwise what will happen, we are trying to create a multiple threads here. Okay, then we need to input the number each and every time. So for simplicity purpose, I am not inputting the number from the user. Instead, I am giving my own input to the particular thread. All right, then after that, I am going to calculate the factorial. Int fact equals to 1. Then after that, I am going to use the for loop. For int I equals to 1, I less than and equals to num I plus plus. All right, then after that, fact multiplied equals to I. So I am using that compound multiplication operator. Okay, then after that, I am simply going to print out the factorial. Okay, so this particular thread, it is going to calculate factorial of a particular number. In this case, I am calculating the factorial of 7. All right, and this particular thread, it is finding out whether the number is even or odd. All right, and in one another class, we are going to find out whether the number is prime number or a composite number. So let us create that class. So class prime number implements runnable. Then after that, I'm going to override the run method. So, all right. So now we need to, input a number. Let us say the number is 7, or let us not take 7. Let us take the number as, let us say 67. Okay. Obviously, 67 is a prime number. All right. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start the loop from 2 till number itself I plus plus. All right. Then I'm going to initialize, I'm going to create another variable named count here. Then after that, what I'm doing, if num percentage I, it is equals to 0, then I am simply incrementing the count. All right. So first of all, I am initializing a variable named num to 67. Then I have created a new named variable named count. Okay, and initialized it to 0. Then I'm creating the for loop. Then I'm finding out whether the particular number, okay, this 67, it is divisible by any of the numbers, between 2 to 66. Okay, and if that is the case, I am incrementing the count. And if outside the for loop, this if statement must be written outside the for loop. All right, if this particular count, it is greater than 0, then I am going to say system.out.println, okay, uh, number is prime. Number is not prime, sorry, because count is greater than 0 means number is not prime. Okay, and then I am going to simply write return here. So this particular return statement, it is going to exit this run method. Okay, otherwise I'm not going to write the else statement here, because there is a reason for that, that you don't need to write the else statement in this case because of this return statement here. Okay, here I'm going to write number is prime otherwise. Okay, so here what is going to happen, if count is greater than 0, it is going to print out this particular thing, and it is going to quit execution of this particular method at this very line. It is not even going to execute this particular line. Otherwise, if count is equals to 0, then this portion will be completely skipped, and it is going to print that the number is prime. All right, so now I am going to I'm going to create object of this classes here. So first of all, you need to create object of the thread class. Actually, you are not supposed to create object of the factorial class, because factorial, it is not implement, it is not extending from the thread class, right? So I'm going to create object of the thread class, thread t1, let us say. It is equals to new thread. All right. So runnable is going to be factorial, new factorial. Okay. And this new factorial, as I said earlier, this particular thing, it is a default constructor. And this default constructor, I have not defined the default constructor here. It is automatically implemented by the compiler. All right. Then after that, we have thread t2. Thread t2 equals to new thread. Then after that, I'm going to call the prime number. All right. Then t dot start, t1 dot start, t2 dot start. So this is the way in which we are going to create multiple method. We need to multiple thread. We need to create more than one class. Okay, for implementing this concept of multiple threads. For each thread, we need to create a separate class, because a class can implement a runnable interface. Okay, exactly once. So let us see what happens if I write it once again. Okay, it is not going to work. Duplicate class java.lang.runnable. So it can implement this runnable interface exactly once. So because of that reason, if you have to, obviously this run method, it is the entry point of a particular thread. So if you're going to create a multiple thread, you need to create more than one class. So now if I press this run button here, it is going to execute all three threads simultaneously. Okay, so this is what we are calling as multi-threading. Okay, so here we are seeing that 5040 it is the factorial. Okay, 7 factorial is 5040. So this is the factorial thread, and this is the output from the prime number thread. Okay, because 67 it is a prime number, and after that we have 8. Okay, this is the output from the even or odd thread. All right. So, these are the three threads which are executing simultaneously. Then after this, if I write 8 here, and let us say I'm writing 62 here, and instead of 8, I'm writing 17. Okay, so obviously the output is going to be different this time. So let us press the run button once again, and let us see what the output is. Yes. So output is 40,328. 8 factorial is 40320. Okay. It is saying number is not prime because 62 it is a even number, so it is divisible by 2. And after that 17 is an odd number. Okay, that is perfectly fine. So in this way we are executing more than one thread. There is one additional concept of in this particular multiple threads, like for example, if I write system.out.println end of main thread. Okay, end of main thread. Then what is going to happen when I press the run button? Okay, so look at the output. Yes. First of all, it is showing end of main thread. After that, only it is executing these three threads. First of all, it is executing this factorial one. Then after that, it is executing this prime number thread. Then at the last, it is executing the tutorial thread. Okay. So, or I should say, it is executing the even or odd thread. So now what I'm going to do? Okay, we are going to talk about the concept of this join method. So what this join method is going to do is it is going to this, for example, if I write t dot join, okay, t1 dot join. Don't worry about the errors. I will show you why it is giving an error. So if I execute this three statements, first of all, these three threads will get executed. Okay, this main thread, it will wait until these three threads get executed. Then after that only it is going to print end of main thread. Okay, so the output is going to be different this time. So now if you look at this, if you hover over this method, it is saying unhandled exception java.lang.interrupted exception. Okay, so obviously interrupted exception, if I talk about interrupted exception, okay, then it is extending from exception. And I already told in the exception that the exception class, okay, it is always a checked exception. Okay, so you need to mandatorily write this either inside try catch block, or you need to write the throws exception, okay, in the method signature. So as soon as I do that, the error vanished. And now if I press the run button, then the output will be different. All right. So yes, first of all, it is showing number is not prime. Then after that, it is executing the factorial thread. Then it is executing the even or odd thread, and at the last only it is executing end of main thread. All right. So this was the concept of the join method. Join method, it is going to, if I hover over this, it is going to say it is going to wait for this thread to die. Okay, so this particular main thread, it is going to wait till the execution of this t, that is this this particular thread is complete. Okay, even or odd thread is complete. And when I execute this t1, if then t1 is referring to factorial, right? So it is going to wait for the factorial thread to complete. And t2 dot join, okay, it is referring to the prime number thread. So this join method, it will enable this main method to wait till the prime number thread finishes its execution. And that is why this end of main thread, it is executed at the last. It is the last line of the output. Okay, so if I remove any one of these statements, like I have removed t1.join, I have removed t2.join as well. Okay, so the output can be different now. So if I press the run button, we can see how the output is going to be different this time. Okay, even though output is same, okay, but that is only because this last thread, even or odd thread, it was executed at the last. Okay, and I have written t.join here. That is the reason why it was executing like that. Okay, you can explore from your side, but ultimately, the order of the method of execution of thread, it is going to determine whether the end of main thread, this particular thing, it is going to get printed at the last or not. All right. So now, this was the concept of the join method. Okay. So it is going to enable, the thread to die. Okay. So it is going to enable this main method. Actually, this main thread, it is going to enable this main thread to wait till, this particular T thread. The T thread means, this even or odd thread. It is going to enable this main thread to wait until even or odd thread finishes its execution. So that is how the concept of the join method works. Then after that, I'm going to talk about starting thread twice. So what is the concept of starting thread more than once? Okay. So first of all, I'm going to uh, first of all, I'm going to start the T1 thread. Okay. And after that, I'm going to start the T1 thread once again. So what do you think is going to happen? It is going to throw an exception. It is going to throw illegal thread state exception. Okay. So you are not supposed to, start a thread more than once. Okay. So that is not allowed. So let us, yeah, it is shown this exception in thread main.java.lang illegal thread state exception. Okay, so this particular exception is going to get thrown. Okay, it is not legal to execute this thread, execute or start the execution of the thread more than once. Okay, so you cannot start the thread, twice. That is not allowed. So that is going to throw a illegal thread state exception. So that was the concept of starting thread twice. Okay, and creating multiple threads. Now, if you want to suspend the execution of a thread for, some period of time, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the sleep method. Okay, now that we have, three threads in this particular file, so let us, try to use the sleep method. Okay, so once again, you should remember that the sleep method, it is going to throw an exception. Okay, so sleep, and I'm going to wait for, let us say, 5 seconds, and the argument must be passed in millisecond format. So if I'm writing 5000 here, that means I'm saying 5000 milliseconds. 5000 millisecond is equals to 5 seconds, right? Then after that, I'm going to start the execution of the factorial thread. Okay, then after that I'm going to wait for another 5 seconds, and after that I'm going to start the execution of the prime number thread. So let us press the run button now, and let us see what happens. So first of all, it has executed this even or odd thread. Okay, because I've written t dot start here. After that, you can see it is showing after 5 seconds, it is showing 40,320. So 40,320 was, this particular thread. Okay, T1. T1 was the factorial thread. So then after that, it is showing, this particular T2 dot start. T2 dot start means I'm talking about the prime number thread. Okay, but here it is, first of all showing end of main thread, because the main method, it is not waiting for the prime number thread to finish. So first of all, the main thread got finished, then after that it is showing number is not prime. Okay, so if I press the run button once again, first of all it is going to execute even or odd thread, then it will wait 5 seconds, execute factorial, wait for 5 more seconds, then execute the prime number thread, and then the program execution finishes. So to suspend the execution, okay, or that is, yeah, if I hover over this particular method, it is showing causes the current executing thread to sleep temporarily for a specified number of milliseconds. Okay, so first of all, it started this this particular thread, which was the even or odd number thread. After that, it is sleeping means the main thread, it went into a sleeping state. Then after 5 seconds, it became awake again, and it executed the T1. T1 is the factorial thread. Then once again it went into sleeping state for 5 seconds. Then after that it is executing the prime number thread. Then after that, end of it, the main thread got finished. All right. So that is how the sleep method works. Now, what is going to happen? If I write the interrupt method, okay, so this interrupt method, it is going to interrupt the sleeping state of a particular thread or the waiting state of a particular thread. Okay, so right now if I write interrupt here, so if I write interrupt here, okay, and if I press the run button here, what is going to happen? So actually nothing happened there actually, but nothing happened there. It did not make any difference. Okay, so I think if you write it once again, okay, if you write it once again, and if I hover over this, here you can see that it is interrupting the thread. Okay, unless the current thread is interrupting itself, which is always permitted, the thread is blocked in an invocation of a wait or sleep. Okay, then its interrupt stated will be cleared and it will receive an interrupted exception. All right. So this thing we will see later on. So first of all, let us talk about this three particular constants: normal priority, max priority, and min priority. Okay. So as I said earlier, these three methods, not three method, three variables, they are defined in the thread class, and because this particular class, it is extending the thread class. Okay, so we can directly print them out. Okay, system.out.println, we can directly write normal priority because this class is extending from the thread class, and if I hover over this, it is saying public static final int. Okay, so obviously if I press the run button here, it is going to show the output of 5 because normal priority is always 5. Okay, so instead of normal priority, if I write min priority, it is going to show the output as 1. And after the min priority, okay, if I write a max priority, then it is going to show the output of 10. So these are the constants which are already defined in the thread package, thread class. All right. So you can use these constants as well instead of 1, 5, and 10, because these three variables, or I should rather say these three constants, because they are final, so you cannot change the values of these constants. So if I try to write here normal priority equals to 7, it is going to give an error. Okay, cannot assign a value to final variable. In much the same manner, you cannot modify the value of min priority, and you cannot modify the value of max priority also, because these are not actually variables, these are constants. So you cannot modify the values of these particular constants. All right. So we talked about the sleep method, we talked about the creating multiple threads, starting thread twice. Okay, we'll talk about the interrupt method in a later tutorial. We'll talk about the is interrupted method also in a later tutorial. We talked about the join method, and after that we talked about the min priority, max priority, etc. All right. So This is all I'm going to talk about in this particular tutorial. If you have any kind of doubts or any kind of questions, then don't hesitate to post in the comment section below, and I will get back to you when I can. And if you liked this particular tutorial, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. So, till then, bye.